All right, so it's bad football. This is where John and I,
We had a few expositions of it this weekend.
yeah, we'll pick through a couple games and just whether it's idiot head coaching, bad throws. There's a lot to dissect in an NFL game, and I think the one beauty of the sport is that you can really there's like always two or three decisions where, especially with the coaching acumen in today's day and age.
Two or three. We have
There's
a few games here with a bunch, but
yes, and we'll get to that. Like certainly, like this is not our father's NFL. When you had just like Titan coaches marching up and down that sideline, in the 80s, you had Mike Ditka, Joe Gibbs, Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh,
Tom Coughlin,
Ryan, real football, blue-blooded men who were great leaders of their teams, and on any given Sunday. But oh boy, where do we start with this one, John?
let's go with Steelers Bengals, because for me, I mean, that was the first one this weekend, so let's just dive into it. Everything about this, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people were saying this was an exciting game and it was potentially game of the year. You're an idiot if you were saying that. This game was awful. First off, there were 5 turnovers by Joe Burrow, 4 interceptions and a fumble, I think in the first half, if I'm not mistaken, which I know 4 for sure in the first half, which that is just a headache in itself. And then to counter that, Mitchell Trubisky threw for 194 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
And the game went to overtime.
Yeah, like what? And then
he wasn't benched.
Yeah, neither was benched for that matter. And then there's the fact of how it got to overtime, Alex, which is the fact that there were 3 total missed kicks in this game, one of which got us to overtime. And this was one of the most brutal blocking displays that I have ever seen by the Cincinnati Bengals.
You can't hurdle the long snapper anymore, which is like, oh, NFL, no fun league. Like that was a fun play.
I know. And so you can't hurdle the long snapper. The Bengals actually, if I'm not mistaken,
can't even line up on the long snapper.
No, but they also had a tight end long snapping, if I'm not mistaken, because there's an injury on the field. Not that this necessarily affects their blocking scheme, but they essentially let Minkah Fitzpatrick walk right through the left gap, like a left center gap in the middle. They just decided not to block him, and he just ran in like completely unblocked and just blocked the extra point that would have won the Bengals the game. And that is so rough. And then during overtime, like we said, 2 missed kicks. There was first, we've always heard it, laces in, laces out. Ace Ventura, laces were in. Ball was hooked wide by McPherson for the Bengals. And then Boswell, who eventually nailed the winner to win for the Steelers, which thank God the Steelers won, just because if they lost a game with a +5 turnover ratio, what in the actual fuck?
Yeah, it was. There was definitely some. I'm sure you remember that. I think it was a Monday night. I think it was a Monday night football game. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago when the Seahawks and Cardinals went to overtime. It was tied 6-6, no touchdowns. Both teams missed a kick in overtime. That would have won them the game. I think they went 3 and out or whatever on the first drive. So it was looking like that bad for a little bit here. And if you're a Bengals fan, isn't this exactly everything that you feared when you lost the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, the positives are they got the hangover out of the way early.
You'd like to think so, but like this is the Cincinnati Bengals we're talking about. Yes, they're still the Bengals, John, because they did not exercise those demons in that Super Bowl. They covered the spread. Good for them.
This has to be the most horrifying situation though, because it's like Daddy Pittsburgh too.
Exactly. Yes, and Pittsburgh, they lose their starting running back, who's essentially was considered to be the linchpin of the offense this year as they're transitioning their quarterback position, and they lose their best defensive player.
Yep. TJ Watt torn pectoral. By the way, some superhuman he is. They're announcing he might be back in October from that.
Well, maybe he found that deer antler spray that Ray Lewis found.
Well, of course, we can't underestimate the fact that HGH is legal in the NFL. So, I mean, gotta love it, right? And Alex, we had one other exposition of really just awful football. It was the return of Russell Wilson to the Seattle Seahawks. Well, I don't know if it was the return per se, but anyway.
Yeah, so it looked like it was going to be a competitive game, in a halftime 17-13. Like,
I mean, it was competitive for all the wrong reasons.
You're the Broncos. You've been out in the quarterback wilderness since Peyton Manning retired. In the last year, he was throwing a bucket of paint for when he was dropping back. So you finally get a franchise quarterback. Russell Wilson gets his homecoming, gets to stick his ass in the 12 fans' face. And he only puts up 16 points. Nathaniel Hackett, he was brought in because Vic Fangio couldn't coach offense. Well, this guy, the Broncos get three opportunities from the goal line to score, only walk away with 3 points because we got to go for it on every fourth down. I'm Brandon Staley. So I think if Nathaniel Hackett's hell bent on out Brandon Staley, I think things could get ugly in Denver because I'm not as much of a star bleeper for Russell Wilson like a lot of people are, John.
It was a bit of it was a rough showing, and I think I'm just gonna pull him up right now. But Javonte Davis's stat line kind of said it all.
Dude, the quarterback.
Excuse me, not Javonte Davis, Javonte Williams. Excuse me. But sorry, Alex, continue.
No, I was going to say, can we also talk about how the quarterback the Broncos traded for Russell Wilson couldn't beat out Geno Smith to start week 1, and that is Drew Lock.
I mean, Geno Smith, shout out to Geno Smith. It was his first week 1 start since he was with the Jets.
Yeah,
which is just
on the broadcast.
That's wild. But yeah, Javonte Williams, by the way, Russell Wilson's number 1 receiver in the game, 11 catches for 65 yards. Yeah. That was his number 1 target. So it was not a good
Seahawks aren't good at covering running backs out of the backfield. And so
yeah, but still Alex, 11 catches for 65 yards. Like that's not a lot of moving the ball down the field. That's a lot of dipping and dunking.
I know, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of dipping and dunking. But he got them onto the goal line 3 times. Like they were his opportunity to score. Like the Broncos should have won that game. It's just
the Broncos.
I can't. I'm trying to I'm an NFL. Just put points on the board. You're trying to win the game, and you're a rookie NFL head coach going into one of the hardest home field environments to play in Seattle. Whether or not they suck, and they're probably gonna suck. Just put points on the board. The Chargers would have been in the playoffs last year if Brandon Staley decided to kick a field goal. It's maddening. Like you get stuffed once. Like learn your lesson. Take the points.
I know what they could have used as well if they were really going to go for it is one of the other players they traded for Russell Wilson, Noah Fant.
Yeah. Definitely could have used a bigger target in the end zone. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and they also managed to prove that Cortland Sutton, not quarterback proof. But we digress.